Fuck around, make my 40 pop.
Alright guys, today I want to talk about Boruto's potential trainers or teachers over the time skip. Now at this particular point, everybody has been overstating the time skip, basically saying the Boruto time skip is most likely going to be coming very, very soon. Of course, we're all waiting for it, but I still think it's a very good idea to actually discuss who could possibly be the best available teachers and trainers to actually train Boruto. Now I will admit, I think Sasuke is going to be probably the most realistic candidate, but I personally believe that there are some other very, very interesting candidates, and a lot of you guys wanted me to talk about them potentially training Boruto over the time skip. So I'm going to start the first one, and the first one is going to be Toneri Otsutsuki. This one right here has to be like one of the most unrealistic options, mainly because we understand that Toneri as of right now is still sealed. Now I still do want to bring up the possibility that there is definitely a chance that Toneri gets unsealed before the time skip, and then as soon as Toneri gets out of the seal, he feels the need to actually go to train Boruto. And obviously if an Otsutsuki member decides to train Boruto, I think that right there might actually take precedent over all the other options, because obviously Toneri comes with that already established clout of being an Otsutsuki member, and also Boruto and everybody else fighting against Otsutsuki members. Boruto can gain a lot of knowledge from just training under an Otsutsuki member. But let's cut the malarkey. We understand the big draw to Toneri, and the big draw to Toneri is going to be the knowledge about the jougan. From what we found out with the back and forth between Urashiki and Toneri, it seems like Toneri was actually the person to give Boruto the jougan, and obviously if Boruto were to actually go to Toneri and train with him, he would then gain a lot more information and a lot better handling of the jougan. Now I do want to bring up a theory that was kind of interesting, and it really includes the jougan plus the karma seal. As of right now, Boruto is not necessarily going to be able to use the jougan correctly because he's not necessarily an Otsutsuki member, and it turns out that the karma seal is actually making Boruto an Otsutsuki member. In current times with the Boruto manga, Boruto is around 80% complete in regards to his Otsutsuki transformation. Once he gets to a probably like 95 to like 100%, he'll probably get a lot more control over the jougan. The one thing that I do have to say that can actually combat that theory is that Boruto used the jougan a lot more when he had absolutely no influence from the karma seal. So for example, when there was a bunch of anime only episodes, especially in the first arc of the Boruto series when Boruto was still an academy student, he used the jougan very, very frequently. Now of course that was because of the impact of Sumire, but I still do want to bring up the fact that there's a lot more jougan sightings when he had absolutely no influence from the karma seal. But I still think that right there is definitely a very interesting thought, that the karma seal can possibly have Boruto gain a lot more control over the jougan. Now another important thing that Toneri Otsutsuki can actually give to Boruto, and not only Boruto but everybody else in the Hidden Leaf Village, is information about the karma seal and possibly a way to actually get rid of the karma seal. One of the things that we do understand from the karma seal is that it's specific to the Otsutsuki clan, and I'm pretty damn sure that Toneri has a lot of information about the karma seal and potentially even how to get rid of it. Now not only that, it could also be a certain situation where Toneri can actually give advice to the vessel upon how he can actually control the karma seal and make sure that the Otsutsuki member is not necessarily able to actually revive into the body of the vessel. I mean, the only solid concrete information that we did get from the karma seal came from Amato, which in theory, like as of right now, we think that Amato isn't necessarily an Otsutsuki member. He really only got that information from reading documents of another Otsutsuki member. So obviously getting information about the karma seal from a direct Otsutsuki member would be 10 times better. And the last thing with Toneri, this right here is a little bit personal for me, is of course the Tenseigan. The Tenseigan has been something that we thought we were going to see a lot more in the series of Boruto, but we just have not seen it yet. And of course, the possibility of Boruto potentially getting a Tenseigan, or Toneri potentially giving Boruto the resources to actually acquire a Tenseigan, that right there would be absolutely amazing. I personally believe that that right there, in my personal opinion, would probably put Toneri above everybody else in regards to actually training, but that's just me. Now the second trend that I do want to talk about has to be Kashin Koji. This right here is a bit more realistic, especially because Kashin Koji isn't sealed, and as far as we know, he is still not dead. Now recently I made a video talking about Kashin Koji and what he could potentially be doing in the future, and a lot of you guys think that he could potentially actually train Boruto during the time skip. I personally believe that a lot of people are saying this because of course the Jiraiya and Kashin Koji fascination. I mean, of course a lot of people understand that Kashin Koji is a lot like Jiraiya. I don't necessarily want to spoil too much for the anime owners out there, but regardless, they have a very good connection. Having Boruto go through the same training that Naruto went through over his time skip would definitely be like a very good parallel for Boruto and Naruto and how they advance over time. Now I personally believe it wouldn't necessarily serve Boruto a lot in regards to actual concrete improvements. Like for example, I talked about with Toneri, he could help with the karma seal, he could help with potentially getting a Tenseigan, he could definitely help with Boruto's jougan, just a bunch of concrete things that Toneri can actually help Boruto with. Now Kashin Koji himself brings a different different level of help. I think one of the biggest things that Kashin Koji could potentially teach Boruto would have to be Sage Mode. Boruto does have the ability to create shadow clones, and it would not surprise me at all if over a course of 3 years that Boruto himself, especially with the genius that he has already displayed, that he can actually master Sage Mode over the time skip. And of course, Sage Mode plus the Karma Seal plus the Jougan, that right there would just take Boruto to a completely different level. Now I'm going to bring up Naruto a little bit later, but one of the reasons why I think that Kashin Koji is very valuable in this case would be because Naruto is the Hokage. He can't necessarily take months off to go to Mount Miyaboku to actually teach Boruto how to learn Sage Mode, and if Kashin Koji can jump in and teach Boruto those things, I think that right there would be insanely valuable. Another thing with Kashin Koji is going to be him refining the skills that Boruto already has. There's a famous quote, they say if you're a master of everything, you're a master of none, and Naruto is kind of the epitome of that, mainly because a lot of people still make fun of him to this day. People say that all Naruto can do is the Rasengan, and now obviously that's not necessarily the case. Naruto shinobi wise has the best taijutsu that we have ever seen in the series, arguable, because of course some people are going to argue Sasuke. That's besides the point, but of course Naruto is a very good case study that if you're very good at 3 or 4 things, you're probably going to be better than someone that's good at like hundreds of things, aka Sasuke. And of course we know how that battle went at the end of Naruto Shippuden. So I think Kashin Koji refining Boruto's Rasengan skills, taijutsu skills would definitely be valuable to Boruto. Now the last trainer on this list would have to be Sasuke. As I said earlier, I think everybody here can actually agree Sasuke is going to be probably the most realistic trainer for Boruto. They've already established that student / trainer roles between those two, but I am still a tad bit hesitant about Sasuke actually being the trainer. One of the things that's kind of been flying under the radar is the fact that Sada has actually grown a liking to Naruto, and people expect that Naruto is going to actually train Sada over the time skip. Now again, as I said earlier, Naruto is the Hokage. Naruto can't take a 3-year break from being the Hokage and come back unless he actually does step down, which I can't necessarily see him doing, especially in a trying times like this, when we do understand that the Kata organization are at full force. Otsutsuki members out there are still probably lurking. Things like that are going on, so having Sada not necessarily have Naruto to lean on in regards to the time skip may actually make Sasuke be the one to actually try to train Sada. And some people may think, including me, Boruto would just train with Sasuke one-on-one would be a lot better than Sasuke trying to train Sada and Boruto at the same exact time. But you never know, maybe Sada and Boruto could definitely use a sparring partner, but I personally believe a one-on-one experience with training would definitely be a lot better for their development individually. But getting back on track with Boruto, I think that Sasuke would expand Boruto's repertoire the most out of all of them. I think we understand that Sasuke has probably the most abilities, the most hacks abilities that we've ever really seen in the Boruto series. Well, some people may argue that Kakashi and Orochimaru could potentially be up there, but in regards to effective abilities versus the top of the top, I think that Sasuke could definitely teach Boruto a lot. And I think one of the biggest things that we could potentially look forward to during that training session would probably be the lightning style that Boruto shares with Sasuke. I think personally, and this is going to be like the same thing with the Tenseigan, well, not necessarily as effective, but one of the things that I would definitely like to see Boruto use would probably be the Kirin. That right there takes up almost no chakra, and of course one of the biggest things, or one of the biggest downsides to that, is that the Kirin only moves at light speed. So as of right now, I mean, Otsutsuki members plus Naruto and Sasuke, they're moving faster than light speed, but I still believe that a Kirin could possibly be a trump card that Boruto uses potentially versus a very strong opponent in the future. Might even be Kawaki, we have absolutely no idea. But one of the things in my mind that has been extremely underrated with Sasuke is the fact that he himself improved himself a lot more than even Naruto did at the end of Naruto Shippuden. I mean, even if we're talking about just speed and strength feats and taijutsu, Sasuke without an arm, remind you guys, without an arm was stated to be equal to Naruto in Boruto. Now to remind you guys, Naruto has been training for over a decade. Naruto gained a half of a tailed beast, and Naruto was over Sasuke at their battle at the end of Shippuden. And still, Sasuke closed that gap with just sheer training. And Sasuke bringing that knowledge and level of training to Boruto would just have Boruto's actual physical abilities completely different. Now, before I get off of Sasuke, this right here is just a theory for me. I think that Boruto could actually learn the Chidori, and it pretty much stems from, and I want to make a full video about this, but it pretty much stems from Kakashi learning the Chidori without actually having the Sharingan. Now, I do want to point this out. Boruto actually using the Chidori wouldn't necessarily be practical in regards to regular Chidori, but I think other ways that Sasuke uses Chidori could actually help Boruto. So for example, Chidori Stream, that right there was actually a very useful jutsu that Sasuke was able to use, and also of course the Chidori Blade, just a bunch of things that the Chidori could do that wasn't necessarily tied into the original use of the Chidori, how Kakashi used it, how Sada used it. Sasuke just treats the Chidori in a completely different way, and I think Boruto can actually bite off of that, especially with him actually having lightning style. But let me know what you guys think about these Boruto teachers in the comment section below. And as I said, I think that Naruto would definitely be a very good teacher. The only thing about Naruto is that he himself is the Hokage. He can't necessarily take 3 years off of being the Hokage to help someone train. But let me know what you guys think. It's been your boy Baara B, and we out.
It's a knife.